You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast, where we strip away the noise, unleash our truth, and align with our highest self. I'm your host, Coachfelicia, a life coach, energy guide, and your biggest believer. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I have Cary Ouellette. She is an intuitive emotional wellness practitioner who helps women break free from anxiety, overthinking, and deep-rooted beliefs that they are not enough. Having walked her own path through self-doubt, emotional pain, and lack of self-worth, Cary now guides others to heal from within using their unique framework that blends subconscious healing, emotional release, intuitive guidance, and essential oils. Through her compassionate approach, Cary empowers women to reconnect with their inner power, finding peace within, and rewrite the stories that have kept them stuck. Her work is for those ready to stop surviving and start living a life of clarity, confidence, and authentic fulfillment. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Felicia. Super happy to be here.
Yes. So the first question that I have for you is, when did you realize you were playing small or holding yourself back?
I would say when you ask that question, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was in my corporate job that I had for 25 years. In the last 5 years, I knew it wasn't a good fit for me. And I knew I needed to be doing something different.
Mm.
But I had this belief of maybe I'm not worthy to do something on my own, or I wasn't able to do something on my own, or shift out of this career that I've
Yeah.
had for 25 years. But it literally was making me sick. And like every day, I really enjoyed who I worked with and I had great bosses. It wasn't the company itself, it was what I was doing. It just wasn't heart centered. And I knew that I needed to be doing something. Like I always knew that I was a healer and I love connecting with people, but I didn't know to what level I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think through those last 5 years that I was working there, I was going through this mind game with myself. Like, I need to be doing something different. What are you, crazy? You can just retire here. This is good. And just like this back and forth with my mind on needing to do something bigger to get myself out there to help more people and really live my authentic self too. And I eventually took the plunge and did it, but it took a little while.
I had been in my career for 18 or 19 plus years, but it was in different companies. But to be with a company in, I should just imagine like not only your brain, but probably other people, maybe friends and family, thinking like, oh, this is where you're going to retire. You have this great thing. So I can
Mhm.
imagine that not only your brain kind of trying to chime in, you probably had outside people as well thinking like, wow, you're set, this is great for you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, I always say those were the golden handcuffs
Mm,
too. It's like financially, I would have been totally set, or at least in my mind, right?
yeah.
And other people's minds. But it wasn't worth it. And I could tell you, I wish I had done it sooner. So the feeling that I have now, even though maybe I'm not financially where I want to be,
Mhm.
but my every single day I wake up happier. And it's like crazy. And I'm just so happy. It feels really good. I mean, I
That's
have
awesome.
stuff that goes on in my life, but
Right.
generally I'm really happy, you know.
That's amazing. And I think that, when I was leaving my corporate position, I had gotten Amy Porterfield's 2 week notice book and I was reading that. And I just was like, I gotta put in my notice. Like, I can't even read the end of this book. Like, I just gotta do it now. Because I had that same, how you were like, I wish I did it sooner. That thought came in my head, like, if you don't do it now, you're gonna be a year from now still in this job and not have learned whatever you would have learned. And while I
Yeah.
think that it like takes a while to learn entrepreneurship, like just there's so many things that from tech to mindset to like self-development and then also like maybe your niche or what are you going to do. There's so much stuff to learn that I just thought this could be the year that I learn all that stuff and kind of get it out of the way rather than being with the company for another year and then being like, "Oh, now I have to learn all this stuff and another year has passed." But even where I was at, I still was like, "Why didn't I do this sooner?" Because there was, like, that inkling of, like, "This isn't for me," but then I just kept doing it because I was like, "What else am I gonna do? I don't know."
I had that too. Like I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I, well, I ended up getting laid off, but I also feel like I manifested that too, because
Yeah.
when I made the decision that I didn't want to work there anymore, the company got bought out. And so I clearly wrote down what I wanted, which was, a severance package. I wanted to be let go and like on my terms. And that's exactly what happened. And it didn't happen to everybody else. Like, not everybody got let go at my level. So I was like, yeah, I manifested that.
Yeah.
I was really clear about what I wanted. But exactly what I was going to do for work after I left, that was unclear. I had an idea, but I didn't know the how.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't know what it's like to be an entrepreneur, which is a whole roller coaster ride in itself. But yeah, it's been a great ride. I say that, but there's been some highs and lows for sure. I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, your stuff just comes right up into your
Mhm.
face and you have a choice to deal with it or not. And if you don't deal with it, I don't think you're going to be that successful,
I
or at
agree.
least as success in the way that equals happiness too. I mean, you could be financially successful, but not feeling good and happy.
Yeah. First started, I thought that the tech was gonna be the hardest part. And then I realized, oh no, it's your self-concept that's the hardest part to get over. Like all of your doubts and all of your limiting beliefs and all of those things, that's the hard part. The tech, I feel like, is the easiest now. Like I'll figure it out, the tech. I can figure that out.
Because it's a tangible thing. Like my funnel's not working. All right. I can't figure it out, but eventually you figure it out and it's fixed and it's going good.
Yeah.
But if you have a limiting belief that you can't speak up and share messages because of stuff that happened in your past, you can't just flip a switch.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes on to it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that is incredible with this journey.
I completely agree. I was definitely in a place of stuckness more towards last year. And I feel like this year it's been like, okay, let's really dive in and look at this stuff in a different way because you can't just like keep trying to push your way through everything.
Yeah. Yes. Pushing or pulling. Those are the energies that I don't want anymore.
So, what did you have to let go of in order to become more of who you are today?
All right. That's a good question as well. So the first thing that pops up is I had to let go of my insecurity.
Mm.
That was something that I believed it was who I was, and my shyness. I was always told I was shy. I was always, not wanting to be in the light and not wanting to be seen or heard. And I had to let that go. And that was really interesting. And that's been a process. It certainly wasn't a switch that I did, but there was a part of me that just kept taking action, like knowing that I needed to let that go and then I needed to do something about it.
Mm.
We can spend a whole much time working on our mindset and limiting beliefs, but if we don't take any action, nothing's really going to change. So I kept putting myself out there as far as like giving myself opportunities to speak in groups, even though I might have been scared and sweating. But I'm like, if I want to become this person that's helping heal people, then I need to shed that insecurity. Like,
Mhm.
it does not serve my people at all.
Yeah.
So that was the thing the biggest thing that I had to like let go of is like the allowing myself to grow and becoming, and I don't necessarily like saying becoming a new person because you're evolving. I feel like we just evolve and we're shedding things that aren't serving us or maybe didn't allow our authentic self to shine.
Yeah. I like that you said that you were just putting yourself out there even when you were scared, because I think that is something. And for two, I think that it really does allow us to get up, face our fear, and then realize it's not as bad as we think. Like, every time I do that, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm, like, sweating this speech, or I have to post this thing, or I'm gonna put myself out there and people are gonna see it." And then you do it, and it's like, I don't know, it's just I feel like the emotion and the thoughts behind it are so much worse than when you actually do it and you're up on stage and you do the talk and you're done with it and you're like, "All right, okay, well, that was not that bad." You know? And
Yeah.
sometimes it is a little, you might trip up on your words or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're, like, still alive and people still, like, ask you questions and clap when you're done talking or whatever it is, you know?
You only have to reach one person too. It's like you don't have to connect with everybody, but there's always going to be a few people who relate to the message that you're trying to give wherever you're at. But one of the things I like to say is like stepping through fear, like
Mm,
one step at a time. And then when you step through it, that way it kind of give you an illusion that I'm walking through something and I can get through it.
yeah.
You know, it's not going to slap me in the face. And also, like when you do something and then you're done, you're like, gosh, I wasted so much time and
Yeah.
energy thinking and rethinking and playing it out in a negative way too many times.
Yes, I know, that's why now if I feel like I might be nervous, I just don't even think about the event until it's, like, right on time,
Yeah.
because then I'm like, "Okay, I'm fresh. I can be nervous now while I'm in the moment," and I'm okay with that, but like you said, I spent way too many hours and days dreading something that was coming up because I was like, "Oh my god, what if I say it wrong?" And the more that you do that too, the more that you face your fears since, I feel like the easier every other one becomes. It's like you still get a little nervous maybe, but it's just like it's almost like excitement now. Like, "Oh, I'm kind of excited. What's gonna happen?" You know? But it does fade down.
Yes, it does. And I like what you just said. It reminded me what I used to tell my daughter when she was doing something that made her nervous. I said, well, isn't that interesting that you're nervous? What if it was butterflies? Like, what if you were excited and had butterflies? And because that just switches it, changes it quite instantly because butterflies are exciting. You know,
Yeah.
I'm on a
Mm.
roller coaster ride. This is fun
Right.
for some people. And the other thing I like to tell myself or ask myself is this true?
Mm.
Like when you're getting ready to talk about something and in your head, you're playing these stories out that I'm going to do it wrong or I'm going to make a mistake. And you have to stop and ask yourself, well, is this true? And if it's not, say, I'm done creating stories. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. I was just at a women's retreat this last weekend, and they were talking about how if you believe you're gonna accomplish something, you're more likely to accomplish it. Or if you believe that something's gonna happen, you can kind of see it in the future. It's
Yeah.
easier. And I was like, oh yeah, because I had done this marathon. I hadn't ran in like 2 years. And then I had 3 months to train for it. And quite frankly, I kind of didn't train very properly at all. One of my friends was like, you should just do the half to be safe. Like you shouldn't do if you haven't ran more than 18, like you shouldn't do it. And I just had it in my head, like, "No, I'm gonna finish it." And it had an extended amount of time, so I knew I had enough time to do it. Because I was like, "Well, technically, if I did, like, walk and jog, I knew I could still do it, and I knew I could run at least 14." So I
Yeah.
was like, "I can do this." And so that was in my head, and I did accomplish it, but I at the like, in our little circle that we were talking, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I had it in my head I was gonna do it, didn't train properly for it, and it was hard as heck." And I was like, "It was very difficult, but I did do it, and I got pretty close to the end of the time, but I still did it." And the lady that was putting on the thing was like, "That's interesting, the story that you're saying about it, because you're saying it was really difficult. I didn't make good time, but I still did it." Where I could say that story and be like, "Well, you're a badass. You ran a marathon and just end that." And it was so funny because even now, like, I understand the power of stories and I understand the brain and all that, but I didn't even, like, think about the story I was saying to myself about this. Like, I wasn't making it very empowering. I was like, "Well, I kinda I did it, but I did it really slow. It was really, really difficult," you know? And so, just paying attention to those kinda stories that we're making up, even if we did the hard thing or we faced the fear, and we could make it an empowered story like, "Wow, I faced my fears and I spoke publicly," or
Yeah.
whatever the fear is. Or we could say, "Oh, I fumbled on my words. I mean, I got up there, but I totally trashed it."
Yeah. I always say too that awareness is key. Like when you can pull back and look at yourself and be in awareness of what your thoughts are,
Mhm.
that's that's a huge step to healing.
Yeah.
It's just that awareness of what's going on in your head, being aware. Because so much of it is automatic. Our subconscious is so automatic. It runs our life and it runs our life until it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I heard too that when you are in certain subconscious patterns or thought processes, the more that you're in that where you're not having awareness, like the older you are. So, like after I think it was like 35 or something, it's so much more difficult to start getting out of those patterns because you've like ingrained them so deep in your brain. So, like starting younger with having more of that awareness and paying attention, it is going to be easier for you to weave out of old limiting beliefs and bad thought patterns.
Yes, I do think that we can still have the ability to change. I'll just share that I have a 70-year-old client that I adore and been working with for less than 3 months. And the progress is incredible. And, he just made the choice that he's tired of living the way he was living and wants a change. And he's totally stepping in his power. And it's so cool. And I absolutely love it. So there is some truth in like these patterns get ingrained in our subconscious. And if we don't notice them, that's our autopilot. We can change them, but the longer we go, you know, there's a chance that it might be harder to break, because it is just a pattern. But if you have the position and the thought of, okay, I'm done and I want to change, I do see people changing fairly quickly.
That's amazing, and I think that that's so inspiring to have a client that's a little older in age and still, like, thinking about, like, "No, I'm done." Like, I want because I think so many times we get older and we think, "Oh, it's" I mean, even me, I don't feel like I'm too crazy out there old, but I even was like, "Ugh, is it too late for me to start a business? Like, I feel like I'm too old."
Right.
And
That's a limiting belief right there, right?
exactly. And when I heard, I think there was a lady on a group call on this coaching program that I was in, and she said, she had some of those thoughts. And the coach was like, it's never too late to change your life. Like, you can inspire people no matter what age you are. And I was like, okay, I need to stop thinking
Yeah.
in terms because it is so inspiring when I see people. I mean, all spectrums, it doesn't matter what age, but it really is awesome to see younger people. Like I seen younger women in their 20s at this retreat, and I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
good for you doing this
Yes.
mindset stuff. I never even thought of that at that age. And then seeing people in their like your client in their 70s doing
Yeah.
this work, that's also so inspiring. And I think the main thing of really changing it is having that, like you said, I want to change. I'm ready for that change. Because some
Right.
people say they want to, but they're actually not really wanting to do all the work that's involved in it.
Yeah.
They
You can be addicted to trauma
Yes, yes.
and not be able to let it go. But I just want to go back to what you said about 20-year-olds. I love that. And my goal at some point is to work with younger people, keep it younger and younger, because that's when you break the cycles,
Yeah.
right? Before people have children, if they can work on themselves and break their patterns and their generational patterns, we can really stop some stuff from happening,
Yeah.
the negative stuff, right? And where we can be in the future when we're stopping this, the abuse and all this negative behaviors, like what a wonderful place that's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's awesome. Do you have a age range that you work with right now, or is it kind of anybody
I
that
It's really anybody who wants to deal with their past and start reprogramming and rewiring thought processes. So any age, I didn't really think I was attracting 70-year-olds, but I did. So it's really anybody who wants to step into that space. My teenagers don't want to work with me, but I have other teenagers that I like to work with.
That's awesome. Even as the mom, you're still the mom.
Yeah, I can't be both.
So what advice would you give to somebody that is trying to find a connection with themselves and feels like maybe they're a little lost right now?
Hmm. I would say step one is just being in awareness of what you're thinking. Like, what are your core thoughts about yourself and the world?
Mm.
And then spending some time alone, which can be very, very difficult. But sitting quietly and either doing a guided meditation or just sitting quietly with yourself and asking yourself, what makes me happy? Sometimes we don't know right off the bat what makes us happy. So just sitting with it and not getting too impatient if you don't have an answer, but just keep exploring and keeping an open mind and being curious about what you're feeling and what's next for you.
That's amazing. I like that you had mentioned if something doesn't come up right away, I think that is normal, especially when you've never asked yourself what makes you happy. I think a lot as women, we are so focused on making other people happy and doing other things for other people that sometimes we forget what actually truly makes us happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can look to society to say what makes us happy or to have an idea of what makes us happy. And it can be really difficult to actually know what truly makes you happy and to not beat yourself up when you don't have the answer right away. And like you said, just like it's okay, sit with it. Because I think through my journey, and I'm sure other people can relate, I was so in a rush with everything that I was even in a rush to do the work. And so I
Mhm.
was just always trying to get through it. Like, how can we navigate this the quickest way possible?
Yeah.
And when I couldn't, and when I didn't have answers, I would get frustrated with myself and I would get angry with myself. Like, why can't you think of this quickly? Why can't you do this stuff quickly? And I think it's really important to allow, like you said, that space and that time and give yourself grace. And if you don't know, it's okay. And if you don't know for 2 hours or 2 days or 2 weeks, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Just to like give yourself that breathing room and that space to let it come in when it's meant to come in. And I've been really working on that specifically this year. I have a lot of fire energy in my chart and I like to do things very quickly and I'm always like have to be actiony and
Mhm.
I'm trying to pull myself back a little bit and not be mad when I don't have the answers right away or something doesn't come to me right away. I think that it can be hard and difficult for a lot of us that are the same way. And so I think just trying to put a message out there to anybody listening that is like just giving yourself grace is okay. And it's okay if you don't know. And it's
Yeah.
okay if you don't know why you're feeling frustrated too. I think that's
Mhm.
something that comes to me sometimes and I'm like, why do I feel this way? Why am I so emotional about something? And it's okay if I don't know and I can just sit with that too.
Yeah. Well, that question that you just asked there is a golden question is why. When we start thinking about our behaviors and we give ourselves some time to reflect on it. So, example, when you say you busy yourself and you rush yourself, well, why?
Mhm.
Now, and you may answer like, oh, I need to get it done fast. Well, why is that?
Mhm.
Well, I was taught that if I didn't do something fast, it was not good, or, whatever the story is. But asking ourselves why and just seeing what comes up too is really interesting. And if we don't have an answer right away, that is also okay.
Yeah.
And I do encourage people to journal. And even the word journaling, some people don't get what that means, or there's too much around it, meaning it might be hard.
Mm.
But really, I have all these scrap papers around, and sometimes I'll just jot down, like, what am I feeling right now? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, isn't it interesting? I don't know how I feel right now.
Yeah.
Just writing down a sentence or two. Sometimes that's all it takes. And then just starting that process of unraveling what it is really that needs to come out.
Yeah. I was just doing that journal work yesterday. How are you feeling today?
Yeah.
And it is really powerful and it is funny that sometimes when we stop and think about it, we're like, "Wait, what do I feel right now?" So, I think that that's a great, like, starter prompt to a journal entry is just, "How do you feel right now, and why is that?" When you feel stuck or disconnected now, what do you do to work on, like, realigning?
So I have a couple of tools that I use for myself. And first of all, is if it's a case where I'm working on something at my computer and I'm feeling that way, I stop what I'm doing and I get up because I recognize the feeling is not flow.
Mm.
And I don't want to be working in that state. So I get up and then I either put on like hip hop music or jump on my little trampoline, go outside in nature. I also use essential oils. If I'm needing to feel grounded, I'll grab some essential oils to help me ground myself. Those are the immediate things that I do. It's like stopping the energy and switching it, or I would say changing the vibration and upgrading the vibration. Even if I just upgrade it just a little bit, will help me get out of it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you use essential oils for so many things. That sounds like your house probably smells amazing. So, what does being unleashed and aligned mean to you?
Mm. So the word that comes into my head is freedom.
Oh, I like that.
And freedom is, I think, the highest vibrational emotion anyway. But the freedom to be myself without giving a crap about what anybody else thinks. To me, that's my truest freedom. I would say I'm not quite there yet, but I'm certainly walking in that direction.
Yeah. Well, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you today. It's always so much fun to chat with you. And I love your work. I love what you do. Do you have any upcoming things that you want to tell anybody about or anything that you want to last minute things that you want to say?
Sure. I have a link tree that people can find me at, and it's called releaseandempower.com. And I have a few freebies that I offer, and I'm always open to having a conversation with somebody to identify what at least one of their root causes is that's causing their anxiety or feeling stuck. And that's a complimentary call. And I love to have those calls with other people. So that's what I have to offer. And any workshops or classes that I have going on will just be in my link tree.
Linktree.
So releaseandempower.com.
Awesome. And we'll definitely put the links for those things in the show notes. So make sure that you guys check those out. And it was such a pleasure to have you here. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit.